Good evening. Welcome. Glad you are here tonight. I am excited to talk about breakfast at supper time. How about that? But breakfast is good. You can eat breakfast anytime, right? Yeah, we are talking about breakfast tonight. My name is Stacy, and I am the leader here of our health ministries team. You are at the Brighton Seventh-day Adventist Church, and this is a ministry here of our church. And I do this with some wonderful ladies, which you will be seeing either up here presenting or serving food to you or greeting you as you come in. It takes a team to do an event like this, and I always appreciate everyone's participation. So let me just give you a couple little announcements and things like that. You came in and saw we have a gift tonight we're giving away. So if you are interested in, it's kind of like a NutriBullet, though it's not by NutriBullet, but it's the same kind of idea. Hopefully you filled out for that drawing. We'll be doing that a little later tonight. There is some free materials there on the table. Of course, you got your pack of handouts, but there are some free books there. There are some cookbooks that are for sale, a little pack, like a mini bundle of cookbooks, and one of the cookbooks that is in there is a breakfast collection. So if you don't have that, you may have gotten it at one of our previous classes, but if you're interested in some more breakfast recipes, you might want to pick up one of those tonight, and then you can have more. So just let me tell you first a little bit about what this is and why we do this. I think a lot of you have been to some of our events before, but some of you are new. So we do regular community events, usually once a month or every other month, and they focus on either plant-based cooking or some form of lifestyle disease prevention or natural remedies and things like that. We're really big into that here at this church too. So in fact, that's one of the events we have coming up, which we'll get to in a moment. But the goal of all of our classes is to help everyone experience the abundant life that Jesus came to give us. In John 10:10, Jesus said, "I came that they may have life and life more abundantly." And we believe that's more than just physical well-being. It's emotional well-being and spiritual well-being and mental well-being. We are holistic people. And so we want everyone to be able to experience that. And we also believe that our body is a temple for God to dwell in, and we need to take good care of our health, right? And that's very important. So those are some of the things that we focus on here. We also have ways that you can keep in touch with us after the event or know when we're doing upcoming events. One of those is through our Facebook page, which is New Beginnings Health Team. So if you look for that, like our page, then you'll see notifications when we put things on there. And we also have a YouTube channel, which is also called New Beginnings Health Team, where we put recordings of our classes. So this class is being recorded right now, and will be on that channel here by this weekend. So if you want to pass this on to somebody else, or go back and see one of the many cooking classes or natural remedies classes or other health classes we have done, you can find those on our channel. So we encourage you to go and learn lots of things. Now let's talk about some of the upcoming things that are happening. So there is a little flyer like this in your packet. So these are our upcoming spring events. This is going to take us up till summertime. So one of the things that we began back in the middle of January was we started a little study group for anybody who wants to come. It's on a Thursday night, and we usually meet every other week. And we are doing, we have a pot of plant-based vegetarian soup and bread, and then we do a study. And we are going through these Creation Life study guides right now that cover different health topics. And for those of you, several of you that are here have been coming to those classes, and we have a lot of fun because we just get into studying health and the Bible together. And our next one is going to be 2 weeks from tonight on March 24th, and we are going to be studying the topic of activity, which is more than just physical fitness. There's other forms of activity too that are good for our health. So put that on your calendar and join us on the 24th, and you can see some of the other dates coming up after that, and as we go through the rest of these study guides. Now, if you're like, I'm not sure about being in a big group study, I think I'd like something a little bit more personalized, then we do that too. And I'm doing one with these two ladies and they're another family member. Yeah, and just the four of us get together. So if you're looking for something more personalized, we're happy to do that as well. Just see me or one of our health presenters, and we're happy to accommodate. And the next big event that we have coming up is April 8th through the 10th, and that is called Why Does God Allow Suffering? This is going to be more dealing with emotional health and healing. And I think all of us over the last 2 years have seen more suffering in our world than I can remember in a while. From everything that's happening in the Ukraine, to everything that happened with COVID, and everything you've personally experienced in your own life. We've all been through a lot. And sometimes these questions come to us. Why does God allow this? Where is God when this stuff is going on? Is this stuff ever going to end? Does God have a solution? These questions are going to be asked and answered in this presentation, this series of presentations. It's going to be over 3 nights, and we're going to hit each of those questions every night. So put that on your calendar, because this is something that would be such a blessing to you, or maybe someone you know who's gone through some hard things in their life. You want to bring them. It's also free. And then our next health class, like this setting, is on May the 12th, and that will be on healing poultices and compresses. So this is another one in our natural remedies series, and if you ever have smashed your finger and it's all swollen up, or you sprained your ankle really bad and you're like, oh, it takes forever for it to heal, it doesn't have to take forever to heal. You can put a cabbage poultice on it, or a potato poultice, or a charcoal poultice, and these things are so easy to do, and most of the time things are already in your cupboard or kitchen, and we're going to show you how to do it, and it's going to be a really fun interactive class. So put that down on your calendar, May 12th, our healing poultices and compresses class. So lots of good things coming up, right? I think so. One other thing that you have a handout about is a new film that has just come out called PlantWise. I just watched it this week. It is free online. It's a documentary on the benefits of plant-based eating for helping to prevent and reverse lifestyle disease. It's excellent. I would encourage you to watch it and share it with your friends. And one other thing I will mention is if you're ever looking for a church family, you're welcome here, and we have our little business cards up there that have our worship service times. You are always welcome. So those are our upcoming announcements and all of that. And so now we're going to just transition into our presentation. I'm going to have a short prayer, and then I'm going to be inviting a friend up. Dear God, I want to thank you for this night and that we can be together. We ask that you bless this evening and that you would bless this time we spend together, that we can learn a lot, have a good time, and be healthier as a result. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So I'm going to invite Mary Lou, who's one of our health team members, to come up, and she's going to be sharing with you why eat breakfast and how can you start your day off right. So you can stand right there. Yes. Thank you.
Well, welcome. Glad to see so many familiar faces and some new faces. So my first question is, how many of you eat breakfast on a regular basis? Well, that's good. Okay. How many of you have heard the saying that breakfast is the most important meal of the day? Okay, pretty much everybody. How many of you believe it? Well, you know, when getting ready to present tonight, I Googled it, right? And there are just as many videos that say, yes, it's the most important, as there are, it doesn't really matter. So, go figure that, right? But we're not going to discuss that tonight. We're going to discuss the benefits of eating breakfast, okay? So before we do that, though, that's the beginning of our day. In the beginning of my day, before I even think about breakfast, I think about Jesus, because he's the most important to me, and to start my day off on a regular, good, solid foundation. There are so many scriptures in the Bible that speak about Jesus being the bread of life, or his words are life to us. And I'd like to start off with one, Psalms 34:8, and it says, "O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who trusts in him." So right there we have that, and I have two more that I like also, which is Jeremiah 15:16. It says, "Your words were found, and I ate them. And your word was to me the joy and the rejoicing of my heart." And then the last one, and I'm sure most of us have heard this one, it's from Matthew 4:4. It says, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." And when we start our day with the Lord, he will give us spiritual nourishment, and then we're just at peace. I know that there are days that, you oversleep and you're out the door before, and you're like, I totally forgot to bring God along with me. And those days don't go as well, for me anyway. Anyway, so what is breakfast? Breakfast is composed of two words, right? Break and fast. And what is fasting? In our setting today, we're talking about fasting from food. And so ideally, it's the last meal that we've eaten is by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And so you've gone 12 hours without eating. Your body has rested, your organs have regenerated, and muscle or cellular repair has been completed, and you wake up and you're hungry. And so your body's saying, yes, I'm ready for breakfast. What are you going to feed me today? And hopefully we're thinking we're going to go with a hearty, whole food, plant-based breakfast, because that's going to nourish and give you the energy that we really need. If you take that meal versus a donut or bagels and how about cereal? When I was growing up, I remember Cheerios with a big spoonful of sugar on top of it. And so that gives you a sluggish start to your day. So breakfast is important for everyone. And they have found that, especially for children and adolescents, that those children who get a healthy breakfast outperform those who do not, or they eat a very high, refined breakfast. But anyway, the American Dietetic Association has done studies, and they have found that children that do eat a good breakfast have better classroom attendance on the playground. They have better concentration, problem-solving skills. And I thought this was interesting. They even have better eye-hand coordination. That was new to me. And we can carry this over to our adult life too. when we eat a good sound breakfast, when we get to our jobs or wherever we're going or whatever we're doing, our concentration is better, we perform better. And it has also shown us that people that do eat breakfast tend to live a little bit longer and have less effects of disease and cancer. So there are some good benefits to eating a breakfast, but again, that breakfast has to be of a good nature. So it's fruit, nuts, some type of protein, whole grains, little bit of fat, and fiber. So the more fiber you have, you know, we have this gut-brain connection, that what we feed our gut is how we think. We have a clearer mind when we are feeding our gut with the right foods. So the reasons for eating breakfast: it supplies energy to our bodies, it aids in digestion, and then gives us a clearer mind. And I think this is interesting, and I don't know how many know this, but when God designs our food from the plant, there is a perfect ratio, and whatever that plant is, but there's protein, there's fiber, there's carbs, there's fat, in every plant. So when you think that you're not eating any fat, you are. Oatmeal. For a third of a cup of oatmeal, there's 2 grams of fat. And that's before you even put anything on it. So God knows exactly what He's doing, and when we eat His way, we have a better gut, better brain, right? So for an optimal brain health, that's what we want to do. So we also talked about it improving concentration in our performances. It provides essential vitamins and minerals. When we tend to skip breakfast, we can't really make up those essential vitamins and minerals that we missed at the breakfast table. Also, when we skip breakfast, we tend to either overeat later in the day, or the first thing when we start to get hungry, we'll gravitate toward those sweets or the things that aren't as healthy or as nutritious. So what is, those of you that don't eat breakfast, what barriers, what makes you not eat breakfast? Is it because you don't have time, or you're not hungry? So if you're not hungry in the morning, are you fasting for that 10 to 12, 14 hours? Is the last meal of your day that? If you try to fast, then you will wake up hungry. Now when I get up, I'm up about 4:30, 5 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock sometimes, but I typically don't eat until 9 or 10 o'clock. So breakfast is your breakfast whenever. I try to get a good 10 to 14 hours fasting. So some of the things I do breakfast, if I'm on the run, I will make oatmeal the night before. I'll have my rolled oats. I'll put them in the thermos. I'll cut up whatever fruit I want and put that in the refrigerator, and then in the morning I put the hot pot on with hot water. I pour the hot water in the oats, put my fruit on it, put the top on, and then wherever I'm going and at whatever time I'm going to eat that day, I have my meal all set. Because you don't have to cook it. The boiling water and just sitting will make it good. Okay, so I also start my day off, I talked about that earlier, with a devotion. So again, I thank the Lord for allowing me to live another day. I read from His Word and see what He has to tell me for that day. Get ready for work, do what I have to do, and then I eat. So, Stacy will now give us what we're going to eat tonight, and she's going to demonstrate on it, and it's all yummy.
I think it's going to be all yummy. Yes. So we're going to let you get some food, but we're going to have a blessing for the food, and then you'll get your food, come back, start eating, and then we'll start talking about how to make the food, okay? So let's pray for our food. And we're going to show you how to make every one of those recipes. Before we do that, I wanted to draw your attention to one of your handouts that we gave you called Well-Balanced Plant-Based Breakfast. And in addition to that is a 2-page spread, which I think is front and back for you. But it's on a bad breakfast versus a better breakfast, okay? So this is a typical American breakfast, a coffee and a donut or a Danish or something like that. You know, people stop at a convenience store on their way to work, they grab a coffee and they grab some kind of snack something. And that kind of breakfast is not going to get you going for very far that day, okay? You're gonna have a lot of effects from the caffeine, dehydration, irritability, artificial stimulation, loss of calcium, magnesium, and B vitamins, elevated insulin and triglycerides, and some stomach acidity. That's a great thing, right? And your Danish is going to give you 200 calories of refined sugar and unhealthy fats, and you're going to lose more vitamins, and your stress level is going to go up, and there is no fiber in it, so you're going to have a rush of energy followed by a low energy mood mid-morning, and you're going to be hungry in about 2 hours. That is not a good breakfast, okay? This is a better breakfast, and we're not actually serving this type of breakfast, but this is a granola, piece of whole grain toast with a little peanut butter and a banana, some fruit. This kind of breakfast is going to satisfy you because it has all the building blocks of a healthy breakfast. So what are those building blocks? So this is what your handout says. The foundation is a plant-based protein. And the protein is what helps set the stage for your day. It controls hunger cravings, it boosts your metabolism, it'll help you lose weight, it will regulate your blood sugar levels and keep you focused. Those are all very important, and especially if you struggle with diabetes or pre-diabetes, regulating those blood sugar levels is going to be very important for you. So one of the main questions that gets asked to a vegetarian or more like a vegan or someone who eats plant-based is, how do you get enough protein? And we gave you a handout that lists lots of different food items and how much protein is in them. But I think for breakfast in particular, people think, well, what are you going to eat for protein? Because when people think protein and breakfast, they think meat, whether that's sausage or ham or something like that, or they think eggs, and they think that's protein for breakfast. So what I have up here is a display of plant-based protein. And the thing is, what you don't often realize is protein is in lots of different foods. And if you eat a well-rounded diet of plant-based foods, you're going to get plenty of protein. And I think Americans on average eat too much protein anyways. And it's then hard on their kidneys, okay? So you don't need as much protein sometimes as you think you need. But let's look at some different options. So we're talking about oats. Every recipe you're having today has oats in it. So oats is our big king today. These are quick oats. We have regular oats here too. But here in a half cup of oats is 5 grams of protein. So you're having protein there. You can put some milk on your oatmeal. This is flax milk made out of flax seeds. And this right here, it says protein, plant-based protein right on the container. And it says on here that there is 8 grams of protein in a cup of milk. So if you're making a smoothie for breakfast and you're putting something like this in it, you're getting 8 grams of protein in that smoothie. Here is a plant-based cereal, and this has whole grains in it. So it's high fiber. It is vegan, and it says on here that this cereal has 6 grams of protein in it. Then I have other things here. Chia seeds. Kim's going to talk about chia seeds because they were in your overnight oats. This is very high in protein. I think it says 1 tablespoon is 3 grams. Quinoa, this is not cooked. These are just the quinoa kernels. This is a seed too. It's a very high source of protein, and you can cook it in like a cereal. That has 6 grams of protein. Let's see what else I got up here. Almond butter or peanut butter. Both of these are high in protein. This has 6 grams of protein in 1 tablespoon. So you're putting a tiny bit of almond butter on your waffle, you're getting protein. And then in the waffle are garbanzo beans, which is a high form of protein, okay? Did you know there were garbanzo beans in there? You couldn't taste their garbanzo beans, could you? But the garbanzo beans are substituting for the eggs that are in most waffles. And most waffles use eggs as the protein source. We're substituting that with a plant-based protein, and that is garbanzo beans. 14 grams of protein in a cup of garbanzo beans.
Could you use that in other recipes as a substitute for eggs?
Yes. In fact, there are omelet recipes and all kinds of recipes online using garbanzo beans. Sometimes it's the garbanzo beans flour, and they'll call it chickpea flours too. So either or. Yeah. Nuts, form of protein. Here is a plant-based yogurt. This one is almond milk yogurt, and this one has 5 grams of protein in right here. Then you've got organic non-GMO tofu. This is also a form of protein. This is actually a very high form of protein, 18 grams of protein in a half cup if you had it like a scrambled. And then of course you can make a smoothie using a protein powder. This one is from Costco. It's organic protein, plant-based protein. It's actually made out of peas, and this has 21 grams of protein in 2 scoops. So, can you get enough protein for breakfast? Yes, you can. You have a little bit of this and other meals, you're going to get plenty of protein in your diet. So that is the foundation. And then after that, you have your complex carbs. These are your energizers. And these are going to provide long-lasting energy. Now, what's the difference between a complex carb and a simple carb? What's an example of a simple carb? The donut. That is a simple carb, okay? It breaks down very quickly. It goes quickly into your bloodstream, gives you an energy rush, but an hour or 2 later, your blood sugar has been spiked, and then it starts coming crashing down, and then you feel drained and you're hungry, and so you need something else. Where a complex carb is going to break down much slower, giving you more of a sense of fullness, and you're not going to be as hungry, so it'll hold you over until lunchtime so you don't have to snack mid-morning, and it's also going to help keep your blood sugar levels very stable, okay, which is very good. And oats is an example of a complex carb, which is why it's very good for diabetics because it helps keep blood sugar levels stable. So fresh fruit, dried fruit, veggies and greens, these are all, now you may think I'm not going to eat veggies and greens for breakfast. Yes, you will. You will make a smoothie. You'll put some protein powder in. You'll put some soy milk or flax milk. You'll put some spinach or some kale in there and some frozen berries. And you will add a little bit of chia seeds to create a little bit more of, put a little bit more protein in there. And boom, you've got a smoothie, and you got your salad and your veggies and your complex carbs and your healthy fats all in one thing. And that's a fast breakfast, you don't have a lot of time to cook something. The next part of a plant-based breakfast is a healthy fat, and that can come in things like nuts or seeds, coconut oil, peanut butter, avocado. One of the things I put up here on my thing I didn't show you was black beans, and you may think, oh, I would never eat black beans for breakfast. But what if you were to take a sweet potato and dice it up and steam it and make kind of like a hash with it, like a potato hash with a sweet potato instead, and then add some black beans to that with a little cilantro and some salsa, and then put it in a whole wheat wrap and made like a southwestern kind of like breakfast burrito. Doesn't that sound really good? That's a savory breakfast, but that's a good way to get some protein in that breakfast. And then the last thing that's part of your plant-based breakfast is some garnish. That's just going to add flavor. So that could be a little cinnamon in your oatmeal. It could be a little sprinkle of coconut on your non-dairy yogurt, or some salsa on that hash we just talked about, burrito. Or this is the one my husband liked, the idea of little chocolate chips in your pancakes. Yeah, let's make this a yummy little garnished breakfast. So those are some of the basics for having a healthy breakfast, and it's really not that hard when you think about just those basic things. So let's get started with making some oatmeal, some oat waffles. So if you just move that this way, because I'm going to move down this direction. So let's get out our recipe for our oat waffles. And as you guys all already told me, you couldn't taste the garbanzos. Now, this recipe is using dried garbanzo beans, okay? Not the canned ones. I actually tried it with a can of beans just to see what would work, and the consistency it didn't cook up the right way. And I think it's because the way this recipe is, the beans are still not fully cooked until they're in the waffle iron. And so that's why you're using just soaked beans. So with this, you have to soak your beans ahead of time. So it's about just a little under 1 cup is going to give you 2 cups of soaked beans. And this is what they'll look like the next morning. So just put them in a bowl of water and leave them overnight. And the next morning, drain off the water and take out your 2 cups and whatever beans you have left over, put them in a Ziploc baggie and put them in your freezer until you're ready to make waffles another time, okay? Or make a double batch and freeze some of those waffles. So this is 2 cups of soaked garbanzo beans. And like I said, these are very high in protein, 14 grams of protein in just 1 cup. So we're putting 28 grams of protein in there. Loaded with lots of dietary fiber. And they are good for lowering bad cholesterol, and they're also low glycemic. So they're very good for preventing diabetes. Okay, now we're going to add some oats. And these are 3 cups of rolled oats. Now, what are oats good for? They're very high in fiber, yep. Good dietary fiber, good complex carb there. Have you ever seen on a Quaker oat container, it always says good for your heart. And why are oats good for our hearts? Well, it's because they contain something called beta-glucan, which is a soluble fiber that lowers bad cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol. So oats are good for lowering the bad cholesterol that increases one's risk of heart disease and stroke and diabetes. And oats also improve insulin sensitivity and lower blood sugar levels. So it's, again, very good for anyone with heart disease or diabetes or trying to prevent both of those. Very good, very filling, very good high antioxidants. Now this recipe calls for 3 cups of rolled oats and 1 cup of quick oats.
What's the difference?
Well, a quick oat is just a smaller oat. It cooks faster, which is why it's called quick oats, because they're already chopped up a little bit. And we will use quick oats in the patties. little bit later. If you didn't have quick oats, you could probably just use rolled oats for this recipe. Now we have 3 tablespoons of honey we're putting in here. That is our natural sweetener. This recipe is so easy. There's no refined sugar in this recipe. It's just, and you could, I guess, maybe put a couple dates in here instead, if you didn't want to use honey. It might make your waffle a little bit darker. Okay, so we got our 3 tablespoons of honey in there, and now we add 2 teaspoons of salt, and I have just a pink Himalayan salt here. You want a salt that has some color to it. Sea salt or Celtic salt or Himalayan salt has lots of good nutrients in it. And now we add our water, and this recipe is done. How fast is this? Pretty fast. Okay, where's my measuring cup? I guess we'll use this one. So it's 5 cups.
I have a question. What if you did maple syrup as opposed to honey?
You could, it would have a little different flavor.
Okay, it would adjust, or, okay. I wasn't sure, I was.
Okay, there's 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. And this is 5. I could get one of my health team to refill that up with some water. I'll need that for another recipe. Okay, now we're gonna blend this. It's best to use a high-speed blender. This is a Blendtec, a Vitamix, something like that would work too. Remember, your oats are not cooked, so you want them to blend up very well. And I just popped a breaker. That didn't last long, did it?
Check that first.
No, it's off.
Hit that, there you go, yep.
I'm gonna unplug that just in case that's what did it. Okay, hopefully we're back in business. Well, I think that's gonna be close enough. Doesn't like it. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to let this sit for a little while. And the reason for that is because our oats need to absorb the water, and that will thicken up our batter. So while this is sitting, we're gonna let it sit for like 10 minutes, and getting a little thicker, we're gonna move on to another recipe and then come back. This is how it would really happen in your kitchen, okay? So, that is sitting, and so we're going to move to our unsausages. Our unsausages are coming up next. So this recipe is again an oat-based recipe. And we are using quick oats for this one. But what we're going to do first is get our liquid hot. Then we're adding the oats into that to soak. So we're going to begin with our water. And we have 3.5 cups of water for this recipe. Okay, there's our 3.5 cups of water. And then we're going to add to this our flavorings. And, looks like I'm missing one of my ingredients. Yeah, I'm needing my Bragg's liquid aminos.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any there in the fridge. If not, okay. Nutritional yeast flakes. Anybody familiar with these? This is a very high form of B vitamins. Sometimes people wonder, how do vegetarians get their B vitamins without eating meat and dairy? Well, this is a great way. Nutritional yeast flakes. They sometimes give a little bit of a cheesy flavor in some recipes, but they're very high, packed full of nutrients. And they are like a little flake that's yellowish. We're putting a fourth a cup of that in there. Okay, and now I'm going to grab my measuring cup for my thing here. Let's see, onion powder. Okay, how much onion powder is it calling for? 2 tablespoons, right?
Right.
Now, it may seem like this recipe has a lot of ingredients. Or a lot of seasonings, I should say. And it does, but remember, that's what's flavoring it and making these oats not taste like oatmeal, but actually taste like something more meaty. Now I have a tablespoon of none in there. Can you send my husband next door and have him grab it out of my fridge? That's a benefit of living nearby. Okay, so that was a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. Now we're going to put some garlic powder. So this one is 1.5 teaspoons. Okay, and then we have dried sage. Now, I like to dry my own herbs. Anybody here grow your own herbs? I do, and sage is one of those that I actually don't have to grow it that much because we have an herb garden right out here in front of the church, so I'm able to use some of that. This is rubbed sage from the store, but when it is grown, oh, it's just so much more aromatic. And the sage in this recipe is what kind of gives it more of that sausagey taste. Now, if you don't like sage, the flavor of sage, you won't like this recipe. And then if you were detecting something, you're like, what is that? Someone said it tastes a little bit like stuffing. Well, that's because we use often sage and stuffing, right? So I grow my own sage, I dry it, and then I just put it in a little seed mill. I think this calls for a tablespoon, right? Yep, so that's 3 teaspoons. If you don't like the taste of sage, you could just leave it out of the recipe. It will change the flavor a little bit, but that's all right. And now some maple syrup. 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. Oh, you're wonderful. Bragg's Liquid Aminos. Okay, so Bragg's Liquid Aminos is a soy protein, and it's a complete protein. Like, it has all the 16 amino acids that you need. So it's very good. Now, if you don't have, if you can't eat soy, or you're allergic to soy, you could use a coconut aminos, would work the same way. You could also do a tamari. So there's other versions. If you didn't have any of that, you could probably just put some salt in this recipe. But this is kind of like a soy sauce type of flavor. And this is the salt in the recipe. Okay, so all of that is now in my saucepan. I'm just going to bring this to a boil. It's almost getting to a boil now. And I don't know if you can kind of see it a little bit there. It's just smells really good. It's very herby and packed full of seasonings. And now, once this is hot, all I have to do is add my oats. And you're using equal parts oats with the water. Okay, so we're going to start dumping my oats in here. Okay, 3.5 cups of oats. Now we're using quick oats for this recipe, which I like better. I guess you could use regular oats if you wanted, but we're trying to simulate kind of a texture that's more like a meaty texture. And I think that the smaller oats give you more of that. Whereas if it was rolled oats, you'd see the oats a lot more in the recipe. Okay, so now all I'm doing is I'm just mixing all these oats in with all these flavorings, this seasoned broth we have created. And I'm just going to turn this off because this is now ready to sit. Now if you wanted to, you could make this a night ahead and let it cool down and just put it in the fridge overnight. Because this again has to sit and absorb all this liquid. All right, one of you ladies want to just take that. Actually, I can just leave it there. Somebody can see it later. So what I'm going to show you now is what it looks like once it is set. This is what I made last night. And it's soaked up a lot, right? It doesn't look like oatmeal anymore.
Is that the oatmeal? You set it overnight?
This I set overnight, yeah. This is set overnight. And I'm doing that because I don't want to take the time for that to cool down. That right there is going to have to sit a little while to absorb, and then it's going to be really hot. So I'm going to show you it with a cooled version. So what I like to do, you can, normally sausages would be fried, right? But what is that giving you? A lot of oil, right? So we're doing a low-fat version, which is baking them. So I have a Foodie Ninja air fryer, toaster oven, all that stuff. So this is the bake pan that came out of that. And this is perfect for making enough for us to eat for like a couple breakfasts. I'm going to make my patties, I'm going to share a little tip I use. I use a mason jar ring and lid. It's just the right size to make a patty. And then I just use a little bit of some kind of nonstick spray. And then take your filling and just pack it in to that lid. Turn it over, and it pops right off. You don't have to form it and shape it and get your hands all dirty and icky. And this works for like any, let's say you were making a black bean burger or some other kind of burger. You could do the larger wide mouth lid, and that'll give you a bigger patty. Okay, here's another one. Boom. Turn it over. And it pops out, and it forms just these perfect shaped patties. After a couple times, I sometimes have to put a little bit more spray on them if it gets sticky. And that's it. I'll fill up this entire tray or my cookie sheet, and then put them in the oven, and you're baking them at 350 for 15 minutes, and then flipping them over and baking them for another 10 minutes. And then they are done. And these freeze really well. There are many things you could do with them. We served them with waffles today, but I'm giving you a bonus recipe in your sheet, and that's for my favorite country style gravy. It's like a white type of gravy, like a milk gravy, and have that on some toast or some biscuits, and have biscuits and gravy and sausages. Or you could make a sandwich with them, with some avocado and kind of more like a breakfast sausage, a breakfast sandwich. So lots of fun things you can do with this recipe. Hopefully you will try that. Okay, so we are now going to go back to our waffles, and hopefully my thing keeps.
You're still on.
I'm still on. Okay, so our waffle mix should be thick now. Yeah, it is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour it straight into here. This is a non-stick skillet. I don't spray it. That gives a gummy coating on it. So I'm just gonna go straight into here. And this is about the right consistency. Let me see if I can, no, I can't really turn it.
I can see it.
There. Can you see that a little bit better? I guess you guys over there can't see it though. You get the idea. Okay. All right. Now we are going to close that. So let me show you kind of the consistency you're looking at. I'll just pour a little bit into here. So you want it to be pourable, a little bit thick, but not like cake batter, not too thick. As it sits, it gets a little thicker. Sometimes. It depends on maybe the amount you put in. If your cup of oats was a little bit full, it might be a little thicker. So you may need to add a little bit of water to it to thin it down a tiny bit. So if that's the case, I usually just put maybe a quarter cup after maybe the first or second waffle. When I start to pour it and I'm like, oh, this is just, it's not really pouring well. You don't want it to be soupy, but you don't want it to be too thick either, okay? And then I'll just add a little water, reblend it, and then start it. And this is not gonna stay on. I think it popped again. We're gonna have to come up with a different system. Okay, so this waffle is now going to be baking. This is a Belgian waffle maker, so it makes a little bit of a thicker waffle. Because of that, I usually have to cook mine about 11 minutes on my waffle maker. I think yours recipe says 8 to 12. Set timer for 11 minutes. And that will all depend on the type of waffle maker you have. Now, most waffle makers have on them a ready button where it turns green when the waffle's supposed to be done. But remember that most waffle batter recipes out there are made with these ingredients: white flour, eggs, and milk. Okay? Now those are more simple type of carbs, the white flour is, which means that the recipe is going to cook a lot faster. Because we're making this with whole grains and garbanzo beans, it's going to take it a little longer to cook. So we're not going to follow this green button. The green button may turn on and then turn off and then turn on and turn off. Just ignore the green button. What you want to do is somewhere between 8 to 12 minutes. And you see how much steam we have coming out right now? So when you first put the waffle in, it's going to be steaming a lot. The steam is like rising all the way up to here. But as the waffle is getting close to finishing, the steam is going to minimize a lot. You're just going to see just a little bit of steam. You don't want to see no steam because then your waffle is turned burnt. So you don't want to wait till there's no steam, but you don't want a lot of steam. You don't want steam all the way up here because that means if you were to open this waffle right now, it would just pull apart and it would be gummy on the inside and it would just be a disaster, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to watch this. We're going to let this thing cook away and see how that does. Now, we're going to move on to our third recipe. So we got 3 things going here at once. We are now moving to our sauce. So we are making a fruit sauce, and the one you had tonight was a strawberry sauce. The one I'm going to make is going to be slightly different because I went to the store and I found this really yummy looking organic triple berry blend. I think, oh, that sounds really good for waffles. So that's what we're going to use, and we're going to use this berry blend 100% juice to go with it. Okay, so we're putting 1 whole thing of juice concentrate in here. This is our sweetener. So rather than adding sugar, which is a refined product and not good for you, we're sweetening it with juice. And then we are adding one of these with water. Okay, we got our water now. And what comes next is our berries. I'm going to add everything in here. I think it says to do your sauce part first and then add the berries, but I feel like just doing it all at once. Yeah, I need some scissors. You try to plan ahead, but you know, there's some things that just you're not quite ready for. Okay. What did you say?
I had the blade in my hand though, at least did that.
Okay, so this is calling for 4 cups of berries. So I'm going to say about half of this bag. I'm estimating. That looks about right. Alright, now we're going to thicken this with a cornstarch mix, and my cornstarch is right here. Let me grab a spoon. Okay, so it's a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. This is a non-GMO cornstarch, which is the kind I prefer to buy. Rumford's cornstarch. So I'm putting a 1/4 cup.
Says a half on the recipe.
Oh, it's a half a cup.
1/4 cup of water.
1/4 cup of water. I'm misreading it. Thank you for keeping me straight. Okay. And I'm adding now a 1/4 cup of water to that. Now, here's what you don't want to do, is put your cornstarch just straight into that pan, because you'll just get one big gooey glump. So what we have to do is stir this water and cornstarch, and it's going to kind of make it like a little bit of a slurry. At first it's going to be a little hard to stir, but just keep working at it, and all this cornstarch will end up like melting down until we get like a creamy slurry here. seems a little bit. I'm gonna add just a little bit more water because I'm having a hard time stirring that all in. Alright, there it goes. Now it's loosened up. It was just fighting me really hard. Okay, we got our slurry cornstarch mix. So now we are just waiting for this to boil. And while we're waiting for this to boil, somebody tell me what are the benefits of eating berries for breakfast? They are high in antioxidants. Yeah, especially blueberries. All berries really are, but blueberries I know are especially high. And I love to go blueberry picking in the summertime. Anybody do that? I have a favorite spot, and I'll tell you where it is. But I love going to Hazen's Blueberry Farm in Howe. If you've never been out there, it's a huge farm, and it's acres and acres of blueberries, and all summer you can go pick to your heart's content and come home with buckets and buckets of blueberries, and then I just freeze them. And then throughout the winter, I'll put them in my smoothies, or make sauces like this, or make blueberry muffins. So next summer, go to Hazen's. It's a lot cheaper than buying them at the store. And you're getting fresh air and sunshine and all that while you are picking them. Okay. So how's our waffle doing? Let's see how much time we have left. It says we have another minute. I think it's getting pretty close. Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of steam here. It's just cycled off of ready again. I'm going to just let that go that one last minute. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take it out. And we're going to put it right here. And did I grab a fork to get it out? I didn't. I need a fork, yeah. Alrighty. I can smell it. Now, one of the things I love about this waffle recipe is, one, how easy it is, but how easy it freezes, too. So I will make this batter, this whole blender, will make 4.5 of these big waffles. And these waffles are what you ate. Every waffle was made out of this waffle maker. And they're hearty waffles. I only eat 2 maybe in the morning, and I'm full. So that's a lot of waffles, so you won't eat them all, so freeze them. And then when you are ready, take them out of the freezer, pop them in a toaster oven, and you're good to go. Ooh, ooh, ooh. How's that for a perfect looking waffle? It's hot. Okay, so I'm gonna look at my batter here real quick. It's a little bit thick. I'm gonna add a little bit of water to that and get another one going in here. Don't want to do too much because you don't want to thin your batter out. If you did over thin your batter, just throw a few more oats in it, reblend it. Oh yeah, this is much better now. Okay, next one's going in. Yeah, this is pouring really nice. It's just the perfect consistency. set timer for 11 minutes.
11 minutes.
Okay,
Counting down.
and that last night I cooked waffles while I sat on the couch and I wrote up what I was gonna do tonight. And the timer would go off and I'd go flip out a waffle, put another waffle in. So this is something you can be doing while you're doing something else. Just let him cook away. Okay, so we're just going to, well, this is gonna take a little while. So I'm just gonna leave this to go. When it starts to boil, I'm going to add, actually it's getting pretty close right now, it's starting to steam. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this in. It's gotten a little bit thick, so I'm just gonna re-stir it, get all the glumps out. Now when you're adding cornstarch to any hot liquid, you want to pour it in slowly as you stir. And this is especially true if it's boiling, because it will thicken upon impact. So we're just slowly adding it as we stir it. And then here we're just gonna let it keep cooking. And what's gonna happen is right now it looks very milky. You see, it's kind of very, you can see the white. As the cornstarch thickens, it will turn clear. And that's when you know it's done. It will also thicken up considerably. And as the berries cook down, they'll break apart and create more liquid, release some of their juices, which will also thin this out a little bit. All right, that is all I'm going to cover, and I'm going to have Kim come on up. While I'm watching this, she can go ahead and get going here. And I'm just going to move this one out of the way. Steve, do you mind just setting this one just down there for the moment? That way if people want to look at it later, they can.
Good evening, everybody. You enjoying it so far? Yeah. Did you enjoy the food?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I kind of get set up here a little bit. I'm be talking about the breakfast overnight oats. So you have that in there. It's going to take me longer to get set up than actually make it. Yeah. So, oh, one thing I forgot, a sharp knife. Yes, a sharp knife. I forgot about this. So, anyway, now just set up here. I kept a couple of the other ones that I bought, because I bought 3 different kinds. I had to make 30 times the recipe for y'all tonight. So I bought 3 different kinds to try them. And, well, obviously they got kind of all mixed together. So, anyway, so this is so easy. And this is really a neat recipe, I think. If I was doing this, I would make more than 1 serving. I mean, I made 30, so for all of you, so I would make more than 1 serving. I would make a big bowl of it and just have it in the refrigerator so that you could just dip it, especially if you have a family. And if you have kids, thank you, Mary Lou. And if you have kids or grandkids, what a great way to just get them involved in doing something very simple. I mean, they're going to be learning measurements. They're going to be, I mean, when they associate what a pint jar looks like, and that's 2 cups, and it's a great way to teach your kids and to get them involved in loving to cook and be in the kitchen, and teaching them healthy things to do. So, really the first thing we're going to do in this is we're going to put our milk. I think it was like 3/4 of a cup of milk. Just kind of throw that in there. And then the vanilla, and I ran out of vanilla. But that's okay, because guess what? This is vanilla almond milk.
There you go.
Right? And this is vanilla almond milk. One is sweetened and one is unsweetened. So you have your choice there too if you're trying. I don't think it really needed the sweetened. So anyway, so we're just going to pretend that we put that in. And a tablespoon of chia seeds. You don't need a whole lot of chia seeds. There they are. I usually don't wear glasses, but I kind of need them for a couple things here. So, and chia seeds are so amazing. When she said I was going to talk a little bit about chia seeds tonight, they are, well, it's kind of one of those superfoods. And I hate to say superfood because everything plant-based is a superfood. It just really is. Everything has, it's certain qualities to it, or just nutrients and things that we need. I'm just going to put a tablespoon in there. And anyway, just going to mix. This is one of the things that you want to do. It's kind of like the cornstarch. You want to mix. You want to just kind of get these chia seeds nice and wet. And they'll go to the bottom, but once you put the oatmeal in, it's going to bring them up and it'll mix in with the oatmeal, so it's not going to sink to the bottom. If you were making just a chia seed pudding, you got to go back after about 10 minutes and mix it again because the chia all sinks to the bottom. But chia seeds are 5 times the omega-3 content in a quarter cup serving of walnuts. So it's really high in omega-3s. And I know you hear a lot about all these terms being thrown around, and you have omega-3s and 6s and 9s, and really most with the standard American diet, everybody is just way off the charts with the omega-6s. The imbalance is really drastic. So we try to have a balance. Right? It's about being balanced. So it's got twice the iron and magnesium of a cup of spinach. That's kind of cool. Well, these little chia seeds. By the way, I'm going to date myself. How many of you have heard about those chia pets? Do you remember the chia pets? You guys all remember those? After I heard about chia, the value, the incredible nutritional value of chia seeds, I'm thinking, why are they wasting them doing that? I mean, what a waste of these amazing, powerful little seeds, But anyway, yeah, those are, in fact, you can still buy them online. You can still buy them. So anybody who doesn't remember them, just go check out Chia Pets. And that was a lot of fun. So because of the iron and magnesium content, it improves your blood clotting factors. It increases the production of your red blood cells. And who doesn't need that, right? It's got as much calcium as a half a cup of milk, as much potassium as a serving of banana, more than twice the fiber of oatmeal. So isn't that kind of neat? And we're going to put oatmeal in there. It regulates, it's got all of the fiber that is in it. It regulates the digestive system, and it improves your metabolic health. There's so many incredible things that chia seeds do. But I like to say that it's all the plant-based foods, right? They all do that. So anyway, moving right along, we're going to put our maple syrup in. This is just some organic stuff that I got, excuse me, it was just Kroger. 100% maple syrup. You don't want to use Aunt Jemima corn syrup. Kind of defeat the purpose of healthy. So we're going to do a tablespoon of that. We used to, when we were homeschooling our kids, we would tap our maple trees and then make maple syrup. And that was a lot of fun. But maple syrup is so incredibly healthy for you. It is so rich in minerals. You think about it, these tap roots go deep into the ground, and it's drawing up all those minerals, those trace minerals and things that our bodies need from the ground. So it's a wonderful thing. I like this. I like using maple syrup instead of honey because it just mixes in a little bit better. I don't know, a dash of salt. I did put a little bit of salt in the other ones. And then, what else do I have to do here? Excuse me, the chia seeds, the oats. I better put the oats in before I forget. Half a cup of rolled oats. And she already talked about the oats, and she talked a lot about the protein, and this has a fair amount of protein in it as well. Anybody heard of the China study? You guys heard of the China study? Yeah, somehow we think we need lots and lots of protein, and yes, we do need protein. In fact, if you want to build muscle, it's the thing that, it helps in the repair of those little tiny fibers that when you're, trying to bulk up or weight lift or whatever, it helps in that repair, but it's huge in muscle repair. But we don't really need as much protein as they say that we do. It is really hard on our digestive system. It's really hard. Well, it's hard on our kidneys and our liver. So, is that my time up? Oh, sorry. Anyway, we'll put the, you can see how easy this is. A couple tablespoons of the, oops, make a mess here. A couple tablespoons of that. And that's really basically it. We've got that made. I'll make a mess here. Yeah, and you can put peanut butter, cashew butter, almond butter, little globs of that in here as well if you like. But now that it's mixed up, I did want to show you what we did in yours is I used mango. And you guys familiar with these little mangoes? These are the champagne mangoes that you can get at Costco. I wasn't familiar with them, so I thought, well, I'm just going to save half of one so I can show you what it looks like. And if you don't know how to cut up a mango, it can get a little frustrating, but you can tell where the pit is flat. And so if you get it just right, you can cut the top off and you can cut the next, and just kind of whittle away at it and you get some big slices out of it. But if you don't get it right, it just it's very fibrous. But anyway, I just wanted to show you what those little champagne mangoes look like. And you can buy them in packs of 6 at Costco. And they're very, very sweet. When I set them in the window it's been a lot of sunshine lately, and so I set them in the window for 3 days, and they're just wonderful. So, well, I think that's it.
Did you add yogurt to that?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I spilled it all over here.
I missed that.
Yeah. So really, this is all you do. And if we had time, I would cut this up and throw that in there as well. And you put the lid on and put it in the refrigerator. And it is so easy. Yeah.
And
Anyway.
one of the things I love about this recipe is how easy it is for if you have to travel. Sometimes we go up north and we're leaving early in the morning, and I will make this the night before, and before you run out the door, I grab those jars or the containers, whatever, Tupperware I put it in, and we have breakfast on the road. And that's a lot better than stopping at a McDonald's and getting breakfast, right? You could do it if you went on a flight. We've gone, on an airplane trip and made that for breakfast to take with us. And the
They
nice.
won't let you on the flight with it. It's liquid.
It thickens up though. It's not a liquid anymore by the time you take it. I don't know. They took it, let us take it.
Wow.
One of the things I love also about this recipe, and you saw, is how many different variations you can make with it. So pick your favorite one. Say, oh, I want something tropical, or the chocolate one sounds really good. Make one of those variations, and then you can have some variety of flavors. So have fun with that. Well, those are all the recipes that we wanted to demonstrate for you. And I hope you are going to go home and try some of these and have fun with them. And a couple little things we need to do as we end here. One important one is the drawing. So if we could have one of you guys bring that little bucket up here. And And bring up the gift too, so we can hand, or Steve, why don't you give the gift away? How can you do that? Sit up really good.
Drop one,
Right up.
drop two.
Okay, Kim, do the honors.
Who wants to win?
You want to win it? All right.
Cindy.
It's going to Cindy. All righty, Cindy. Very good.
Cindy K.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was one Cindy here.
There's only one Cindy here. Yep. Okay, just a couple little things as we let you go. Remember what we got coming up next, our event calendar. So put those dates on your calendar and join us. Our next one will be in 2 weeks for our soup and study. And we're always here for you. If you have questions about health or your health journey, email us or text us or call us. You know, we're here for you. We don't want to just be just doing classes. We would rather get to know people one-on-one. That's why I really like the little study groups we do, because it's a little smaller setting and we get to know each other and encourage each other. So whatever we can do for you, let us know. We're here to support you. And with that, I'm going to ask my husband to come up and have a closing prayer for us, and then you'll be dismissed.
All right. Did you enjoy that, friends? Yeah. Isn't it fun to eat healthy? And everybody did such a good job. I just really love this food, so definitely experiment. It takes a couple tries, but you'll get it.
Yeah.
So, let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this building, for this group of people, for the word you've given us to direct us and guide us to the proper food that you made for our bodies to run on. So Lord, we know this is good fuel for our system. Help us to run with efficiency as we learn to cook better and take care of our temples. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.